All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. We got a lot of friends, and I don't want to say allies. I want to say people in the fight with us every single day, in the same foxhole, right? Fighting hard for the people of this state. Before I get to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which is why we're here this afternoon, let me just say. First of all, I am grateful to the two federal courts who have done the right thing and have said what we know, which is providing food relief and aid to people under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, is the law. It is mandatory. It is not optional. And the use of the contingency funds, which are between $5 and $6 billion, is not optional. And I'm grateful that they have ordered the federal government and the Trump administration to fund SNAP. I am deeply, deeply concerned, like many of you here, that at 5:10 p.m., it's clear that the federal government does not intend to fully fund SNAP. Despite the fact that, I was just talking with Congressman Courtney, despite the fact the federal government has plenty of money and can exercise its discretion, and when I say its discretion, I mean one person's discretion. I mean the President of the United States can make this right and make sure that children and families in Connecticut do not go without milk, bread, eggs, meat, produce, that children do not starve in this state. We're talking about more than 100,000 kids on SNAP. The president can fix this right now. But what we understand is that the USDA, at his bidding, is only going to fund half of that. Half a plate, half a meal, right? Half full stomachs, if we can even get there, for children across this state and this country. We need SNAP to be fully funded. We need the federal government to step up and fill the gap. And this is going to do a lot of damage to Connecticut families and people that we care about. People are going to go hungry, and they are going to suffer. And that clearly is the point of this administration's action. What this whole episode with SNAP underscores, of course, is that the federal government and this president, who has sworn an oath to help us, protect us, work with us and for us, is not only derelict in his duty, but is abandoning the American people, leaving us behind, literally taking food out of the mouths of our children. And if the federal government, which we, the states, empower to take action on our behalf. That's the design of the United States of America, right? The original building blocks of the 50 sovereign states. We delegate limited authority and power to the federal government to do things to help us. If the federal government is going to abandon its job and its role and leave us hanging, then we need to do it ourselves. And we need to encourage even more people to enter public service and to do the jobs that all the people you all represent, well, all the jobs that you all do yourselves, number one, but all the people that you represent, the people that provide health care, people on the front lines, the first responders, the policemen, the firefighters, the teachers, the social workers, right? Everybody that does all the critical, important work, especially when things like SNAP fall apart. We need all of those supports and all of those people. And we need a public service loan forgiveness program that encourages people to get into public service and to stay in public service. And if the president and Linda McMahon haven't thought of every way that they could hurt people, they've now found a new way. And that is to gut the public service loan forgiveness program. And by the transitive property, you hurt the people that have student loans who have decided to forego other opportunities and other career paths to serve the people of this state and their community and their friends and their family and their neighbors. Not only are you hurting them and their families, but you're hurting the people that they serve. So it's a double whammy. And since 2007, this program has enabled more than 1 million people to serve the public in this country. I mean, that is a huge difference and a huge impact. And now you're going to take that away. And in vital fields like education, healthcare, law enforcement, as I talked about, in Connecticut, 11,840 approximately, close to 12,000 people have had loan forgiveness under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. We have an additional 12,500 borrowers enrolled, and the federal government is about to pull the rug out from underneath them, which is why we have to fight, and which is why I joined with 21 other attorneys general in filing a lawsuit against the United States Department of Education for breaking the law and unlawfully restricting eligibility for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. And here's what they're doing. They're saying that for this program that has existed for almost 20 years, since 2007, you do not qualify if you engage in a substantial illegal purpose, whatever the hell that means. Okay? It is not illegal to be a police officer. It is not illegal to be a firefighter. It is not illegal to be an assistant attorney general, for sure. It is not illegal to be a teacher, a para, an administrator. It's not illegal to provide health care to children who need it. And yet they want to, and it's not illegal to provide health care to sick people, even though they may have a complicated immigration story. And that's what this president and Linda McMahon intend to do: punish people for helping other people. And that's why we are compelled to sue and to vindicate the rights of all the people that have given so much to serve their community. This is the very definition. Joe's also a lawyer. So the legal standard for breaking the law in circumstances like this is that it's arbitrary and capricious, okay? There's nothing more arbitrary than coming up with some standard substantial legal purpose that has no legal meaning, that they just make up. It means people Donald Trump and Linda McMahon don't like. That's the test. That's arbitrary. And that it's capricious. Capricious means they just did it because they felt like it after 20 years of this program. And so we're in court again. We've won a lot of these cases, let me be clear, by showing how arbitrary and capricious this president, this Secretary of Education, this government and federal government is. And on the front lines of this fight are all of you. We've got a lot of speakers, so we're going to have to move quick. But let me invite Congressman Joe Courtney to join us and share a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Attorney General Tong, for bringing us all together. And the turnout, I think, speaks volumes about the passion with which people feel about this program. And I think this is lawsuit number 37?
No, this is 39.
39, okay. Thank you for your amazing leadership and success in a number of those legal actions, which I think is important to remember. Obviously, the courts have been a challenging path, but nonetheless, you've gotten to the finish line a number of times, and we are really grateful for that. And I think history will, really look kindly in terms of your and all of your staff's hard work. So John Larson is here, and I just, wanted to chime in. So both of us were in Congress in 2007 when the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program was created as part of the College Cost Reduction Act. It was actually one of the first items that the new majority in 2007 passed. It was a bipartisan vote in the House, 273 to 149. In the Senate, it was 78 to 18. George W. Bush signed it into law, which I think is also kind of an important bit of historical fact to footstop, is that this was a very bipartisan effort because for all the reasons that William listed, which is that people understood that when you have talented people in college, coming out of school, lots of options, lots of choices, public service might not be the most lucrative in terms of trying to deal with student loan debt, and giving them a rather lengthy runway, but nonetheless a runway to discharge that debt, which the law created with a 10-year requirement that you stay current with your student loan balance, was a reasonable trade-off, so that, again, all of the caring professions that William listed. By the way, military service also is one of the public services. I mean, a lot of people think, well, you got the GI Bill, but people sometimes enlist after they've already accumulated student loan debt, and the GI Bill, does not provide any relief for that. So, again, just down the list. I mean, it really has been such an important law in terms of really giving people an incentive to step up and serve in so many different capacities. The nonprofit sector was included because whether it's working for a nonprofit hospital or a social service agency, there's the whole range and spectrum of nonprofits that again are critical, and I think John Carl is here from the nonprofit organization, which again we know that's really true here in the state of Connecticut. But when that was included, I mean, Congress recognized that we have a system in place that vets illegal activity. It's called the IRS. You get a 501c3 status if you've satisfied the IRS through what's called the illegality doctrine, that you are, again, an organization, enterprise that performs its mission lawfully. So this is a completely gratuitous and sketchy doctrine that they're putting out there. Immigration assistance was one of the things that was specifically identified as possibly subject to this rule. I Googled the Catholic Church and immigration assistance coming in here, and there was a list of programs and services starting with Catholic Charities, the U.S. Council of Bishops. I mean, again, we're talking about nonprofit activity, which they're identifying. I mean, they're not hiding this. Again, I think the vast mainstream of American would just be, totally, baffled and turned off by in terms of just what's happening here. There was no provision in the law when we passed it in 2007 that gave the secretary this discretion. The rule that they're putting forth is completely outside the statutory framework that was already on the books, and that has operated well. Although the first Trump term, Secretary DeVos, remember her? She would come in with a budget every year that had a zero request for PSLF, and there was numerous lawsuits to get the department to start processing discharge applications, which finally, when Miguel Cardona took over, basically thousands of people who again had been completely trapped in terms of the inaction by the Department of Education. So this lawsuit is just so important in terms of at many different levels, in terms of just making sure that critical work is going to get done for the American people. And again, the Attorney General and his colleagues have really, I think, just done amazing, heroic work for this country, and this really dark time in terms of the federal government's just mangling of existing laws and duties that are laid out in our constitutional framework. And John Larson is here, I think.
Congressman Larson, please join us.
I want to thank the Attorney General again for his continued work on behalf of the state of Connecticut, but frankly, for the entire nation. And being willing to stand up to Donald Trump. I don't know if everyone saw Chris Murphy's speech on the floor about a week and a half ago, where he was talking about authoritarianism isn't on its way. It's here, and we're dealing with it currently. And nationwide, the Attorney General, who's been standing up to that on a daily basis, has been our own William Tong, and I commend him for that. And our delegation is united, and Joe Courtney far too modest to say that he's already initiated a letter that spells out specifically what the Attorney General and he went over with in terms of the law as it was written and executed back in 2007, and as Joe indicated, signed by President Bush. But this isn't about the law. This is about a person carried away with his own authoritarianism. Something I think that the columnist David Brooks says, he's a narcissistic nihilist. Now, nobody at Augie and Ray's knows what that means, but his concern with grasping as much power as he possibly can and thinking that somehow he's above the people and above the law and has the right to change the law. Americans are speaking out, including all the associations that are gathered here today in common cause. We are the United States of America. We the people and its duly elected legislative officials will have the final say, not an authoritarian dictator consumed with himself and the consumption of power and trying to indicate, as Joe pointed out, that he's in charge here. Again, we can't thank our Attorney General enough for leading this fight. He's recognized by our colleagues in the United States Congress, and we will continue to fight. We have legislation that's been introduced as well that is going to continue to point out, hey, you know what? For every bit of community service that you provide to your nation, in return, we'll give you the equivalent of 2 years of in-state college tuition forgiveness. You work for your country, you work in community service as certified and acknowledged. We'll give you that loan forgiveness because today our kids are already burdened with mountains of debt coming out of college and can't afford to buy a house and gain the assets. We're fighting every day in Congress. Couldn't have a better partner than Joe Courtney and frankly Rosa and Jim as well, and both of our United States senators. Connecticut is united in this, and we've got a great leader in William Tong leading that fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move this out a little bit. Is that okay? Next up is Dr. Cara Delaney, an assistant professor of obstetrics and gynecology at UConn. Dr. Delaney, thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I'm here as an OBGYN and an AAUP member. I went to medical school with the goal of treating patients from vulnerable communities. And PSLF made it possible for me to have a career working in public service, to teach students, and to take care of community members who would otherwise have trouble accessing care. Without PSLF, I would likely not have been able to take a job in the public sector. I'm actually about to fulfill my 10 years with the loan forgiveness program, and I'm planning to stay in public service afterwards. In the past year, this process has become very complicated and very stressful, especially with the ambiguity of rules regarding employer qualifications and if these qualifications are in line with the current administration's political goals. This is government interference, and with the goal of creating an environment of fear and powerlessness and despair. And we must stand up to these efforts to that target disenfranchised communities. And so I'm very happy to be here today and to stand with everyone here from AAUP and from the other agencies. Thank you so much.
Let me just thank Dr. Delaney again for not only committing to the service that you have done, but even in the face of all that we're talking about today and you're seeing in healthcare, that you're committing to continue to do it, and we are grateful. All right, so we have a lot of guests. I'm going to ask State Representative Greg Haddad to come up here and speak on behalf of his colleagues. Joining him today are State Senator Matt Lesser over here, and then State Representative Eleni Kavros-Stragraw and State Representative Corey Paris. Is that everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Greg is chairman of the Higher Ed Committee.
Thank you. I'm not happy to be here. I'm actually quite angry to be here, right? We all are. But I am proud to be standing with this group of legislators and leaders in our town, especially starting with our Attorney General, William Tong, who has done such a great work working to make sure that this administration acts in ways that are only legal and not capricious, as he says. I'm proud to be here with my colleagues, Representative Paris and Kavros-Stragraw, who led an effort at the General Assembly to create a student loan reimbursement program in Connecticut. I'm proud to stand here with Senator Lesser, who helped us create the Student Loan Ombudsman program in Connecticut. And of course, our Congress, folks from Congress here, who have put the student loan forgiveness program in place in the first place. You know, I'm here because I've sat around too many kitchen tables with parents who are concerned about whether or not they can afford to send their kids to college. Students graduate in Connecticut with a mountain of debt. They are ever questioning whether or not it's worth it to incur that debt as they're trying to better themselves and get a college degree. The Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program is one way that we can make sure that that dream of getting a college degree remains affordable for middle-class people in our state. And it is critically important that we protect it against the attacks of the Trump administration that we see in his most recent rules and regulations. Attacking the folks who are trying to take advantage of this way to afford a college education by entering into public service is no way to improve our country. It's no way to make sure that middle-class families can afford to make ends meet. And so I applaud the Attorney General for his effort here. I know that me and my colleagues and the folks who represent us in Congress will continue to fight to make sure that college is affordable to folks in Connecticut and elsewhere in the country, and I'm proud to stand with them here today. Thank you.
All right, before I introduce some of our partners here who are going to speak, let me also acknowledge some folks who are also here today. If I don't get everybody, I apologize. We're doing the best we can with a long list of friends and partners. Shelley Davis, Vice President of the AFL-CIO. Fiona Person of CSU AAUP. Mackenzie Hurtado, President of SVFT, which is an AFT. Union, Bill Garrity, president of UHP, Joan Andrews, who represents our assistant attorneys general, so very important to me. With that, let me ask Kate Diaz of the Connecticut Education Association to come up here. The other day, Kate was very generous to give me an award, but I want to say I don't need an award, John doesn't need an award, Joe doesn't need an award, you guys need an award, honestly. And I want to thank the teachers of this state for fighting hard for kids every single day. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. I would argue that 39 lawsuits is pretty noteworthy and fairly important. And as a math teacher, I really want to shout out your use of the transitive property. I had an incredibly prideful moment. You had a geometry teacher that knew exactly what they were. You did. And you used it appropriately. So I have a little heartfelt moment there, knowing that these things linger. Unlike apparently the application of the law in D.C., which would be great if it would linger just a little longer. We are really struggling to attract people to public service. We know this. We've seen not just in education, but in every field of public service. Our friends in police, fire, postal workers. We are all suffering to attract people to these professions because they are publicly abused and ridiculed by the leadership that we have right now in Washington, D.C. This just furthers the attack. It took me years to get public service loan forgiveness. I wasn't at 10 years. I was at like 16 years before I could cut through the bureaucracy when Cardona was in office and able to actually achieve that goal. I had earned that. I had paid for my student loans. I had done my service. I was joyfully in a classroom, and I had to fight tooth and nail for the dollars that I was able to get back for my service. We should not make it hard. We should make it joyful. We should make it a wonderful opportunity to serve one another in any of the fields of public service. We have an administration that does not value that work, that does not value us, and that is evidenced every time these decisions come forward. It is further evidence that who is in office does not represent us. And when we all go to the polls tomorrow, we need to remember that, and we need to take that issue local. We need to assess local, state, and national leaders to see, are they aligning with our beliefs? Do they respect us? Do they respect our work? Will they fight for us? Will they fight for our work? And we need to ask that question of every single person we have the opportunity to vote for. And I think that it is a moment in time for us to take stock. We show up as public servants every day to care for people. In my line of work, we care for other people's children. We take them in, we treat them as our own, we treat them the transitive property.
Yes.
It stays in some cases. And we are joyful in that work. But we need support too. We need to be cared for. We need our work valued. And failure, time and time again from this administration to show us that level of respect should not be tolerated. So we will always stand with you, and we will always stand with our partners who fight for us. And rest assured, the teachers are going to show up. We are going to show up every single time. We will show up in the elections. We will show up for every single person that fights for us. And so thank you, and we look forward to continuing the fight.
I want to acknowledge Mike Skold, the Solicitor General of the state of Connecticut, who is leading on these 39 lawsuits. He doesn't like to be featured on TV, but he does extraordinary work. And it feels like, Mike, sometimes these 39 cases that we're running into every burning building, but the people who actually run into every burning building are our state's firefighters. And I'll ask Pete Brown to join us.
General. I want to thank the Attorney General for bringing us all together today and taking on this fight for our public servants. You know, I come from a world where promises matter, contracts are binding, and this is another example of a broken promise. Our firefighters take on this work. We appreciate a program like this where you pay your debt, you pay your loan, you serve your community, and you can have that loan repaid. And as somebody selfishly who is slowly watching that ticker get closer and closer to 120, to have the goalpost moved at the last minute is pretty frustrating. I want to thank him again for taking this fight on, and we look forward to standing with him and all the rest of our public safety partners here throughout this fight. Thank you.
Of course, I want to thank all the working people here, not just those in public service, but all the working people that are helping to support our state and our economy. And I'll ask Ed Hawthorne, the president of the AFL, to say a few words.
Thank you, Attorney General Tong. So 39 lawsuits, that's something we've been repeating. But the Attorney General doesn't do that alone. He does it with the assistance of the assistant attorney generals who go toe-to-toe every day in state court and in federal court with people that are making much more money than them on the other side of the aisle. Now, how do we get the best and the brightest to stick up for us? It's programs like the Public Service Loan Forgiveness. That program is 120 on-time payments and your loans get forgiven. It keeps that institutional knowledge inside buildings just like this, inside classrooms, in the firehouses, and everywhere for the people that are sticking up for us. That's what that program does. And you might be asking yourself, this doesn't make any sense. But with the Trump administration, if you start filtering it through these three things, it makes sense. Is it cruel? Is it vengeful? And does Trump gain power? That's what we're fighting against. And I'm so thankful to have the Attorney General and the AFT members in this building fighting for us every single day. Thank you once again, and let's keep fighting.
I want to invite John Carl Casa up here. John Carl represents all the nonprofits who are trying to hold it together right now with duct tape and string, right? And blood, sweat, and tears, too. And so I want to thank the nonprofits of this state for making it happen under the most extraordinarily difficult circumstances.
Thank you, Attorney General Tong, and to all the supporters here today. We appreciate it. On behalf of nonprofits, nonprofits serve adults, they serve children, they serve people with mental health and addiction, they serve people who have disabilities, people who need to get a new start back home. For many years, those of you who have seen me around the Capitol know that for too many years, nonprofits have been underfunded. And if they're underfunded, they can't compensate people well enough. If they can't get people, if they can't recruit them and retain them, they can't provide services. That means the people who depend on those services don't get them. This program is one way to help them stay, and it's a way for the government to tell them, social workers, clinicians, nurses, caseworkers, and many more, that their jobs are valued, that they are valued by our society. No matter what the rationale, depriving organizations of eligibility is going to hurt these people. And it's going to send a message that they are just cannon fodder in battles over social issues. That's not acceptable. About a third of the recipients of this beneficiaries of this program work for nonprofits. That means that they have saved about $250 million with which they can take care for their families, spend on things they need, take care of themselves. So this program is a winner. It's a winner in a lot of ways. It helps the workforce. It helps nonprofits deliver services. It puts money into our economy, and it improves the quality of life. Thank you. That's good for Connecticut. We thank the Attorney General and all of the supporters here for speaking up for nonprofits. It's very important. The National Council of Nonprofits joined in a lawsuit today, along with representatives from unions and cities from across the country. This is a nationwide effort. We look forward to winning this battle.
And now batting cleanup from AFSCME, Zach Levy. go Tom.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank Attorney General Tong for his 39th lawsuit and the 38th that came before him. Our members provide public services across nearly every state agency and every municipality. And one of those group of workers are administrators in our higher ed who help students navigate a student loan system that seems designed to keep them in debt and to keep the lenders whole. But this program, PSLF, is a lifeline for people to get into public service and to people to get into nonprofit, to serve their neighbors, to serve their community, to serve the state of Connecticut. My wife was fortunate enough to be one of the 12,000 that had her loans forgiven. She's making a career out of that job. And it was a lifeline and relief to our family and our budget. And for the president to try to take this away, it is heartening that we have all of us standing here and an attorney general like William Tong to lead the charge, fighting back, to stop this backwards and moral and legal wrong from happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Any questions?
The rule sets out very specific terms for which an organization or a group can be targeted. How much concern is there really that this would affect public school teachers, firefighters, organizations? What are the biggest
Highest concern? And if you're talking about the rule promulgated by the Trump administration, I don't think it's clear or specific at all. As I said before, who the hell knows what substantial illegal purpose means? They may cite some examples today, but as we've seen from this administration, not only do they move the goalposts, which is what they're doing here, but they're constantly making up, justifications that are not justifications at all. But they're constantly making up reasons that don't make any sense. I don't think there's any clarity on what they mean by a substantial illegal purpose. What I think we know and we're clear about is it means people they don't like. But that's not. You can't, like Zach's family, you can't make decisions as a family about whether I'm going to stay in a job, whether I'm going to pay for daycare for my kids, whether I'm going to buy a house, whether I can afford to go out for dinner with my family. I mean, people can't make everyday economic decisions for themselves and their families when you have a program that has utterly no clarity or specificity.
It sounds like the programming of the Trump administration is saying that the program created back in 2007 has kind of gotten away from what it was intended to do. What's kind of your response to that?
Garbage. This is just more garbage from the Trump administration. What are they talking about? These are people that help people. Okay? These are teachers, as we said, firefighters, people who provide health care, people who are sick, they have illnesses, they need help. What are they talking about? This program has not lost its way or become unmoored. It's focused on the people right here. This is who Joe Courtney and John Larson were talking about back in 2007 when they passed this law.
The changes would take effect in July 2026.
So we have some time to fight, which is why this is important. This lawsuit is important right now, and our companion lawsuits too.
What's your kind of confidence level as you continue to go up against the Trump administration lawsuit after lawsuit?
Look, legally we feel we're in a very strong position, and we've demonstrated that in the 38 other cases. We haven't won every single one, but we've seen a lot of success, particularly in the district court and the appellate court level. We know that it gets harder at the Supreme Court, but we like our chances there too, and we're about to argue tariffs. That's our case. But lawsuits are, number one, not a good way to set policy. Okay? Litigation is not a good way to run a railroad or run a country. And number two, they take a long time. And then court orders need to be enforced. And I don't have to tell any of the people here, particularly the nonprofits, even though we have a court order that says the president cannot arbitrarily freeze federal funding, it's like a game of whack-a-mole, right? They know they have a court order, and they they freeze this or they freeze that, and they play games with people's lives, and that's what's most troubling about all this. We're talking about real people, real families making real decisions about their children, about their future, and despite the fact that I feel confident in our legal position, a lot of people are going to get hurt in the meantime.
You've got a wide variety of people with different backgrounds behind you here. Do you think that any public servant in the state of Connecticut benefiting from the program could be, at risk of losing that?
Yeah, everybody has a target on their backs. Who does public service, who's eligible for this program, everybody's at risk. Anyone else? All right, thanks everybody. Everybody, thank you for being here. All right, good afternoon. All right, good afternoon, everybody. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. We got a lot of has a target on their backs. Who does public service, who's eligible for this program, everybody's at risk. Anyone else? All right, thanks everybody.